Hi there. You're watching Gardens and Graveyards. My name is Charisma. If you like what you're watching today, please like, subscribe, and ring that bell so that you get notified every time we post a new video. Today we're in the indoor garden again. It is ramping up into spring and I need to get all of my houseplant projects done for the season so I could get outside. Today I wanted to try something I've never done before. I'm going to plant this trio of plants together in one big pot. All of these plants are getting too big for their pots. This one won't even sit up by itself. It's just in a 3-inch container, clearly too big, and it needs to be potted up. However, the next size up isn't going to be its final size. So I'll have to pot her up once more at least before she's in her final pot size. So putting these little plants together in one pot, I know I'm only going to keep them in that way maybe a year and a half, maybe 2 years at max. But I generally go through all of my pots once a year, so I expect that I'll be transplanting her again next year anyways. So putting them in this little trio for a year isn't going to hurt them, and it'll give their roots a chance to expand and their trunks a chance to grow, and it'll just be a fun little plant for a year. And I've done this in similar situations where I leave the containers in their pots and put them in a larger container inside their pots. Does that make any sense? Like, I'd have a decorative container, I'd put 3 or more individual pots like this with plants in them just as they are. Put paper or styrofoam around them and then put moss so you don't see any of their pots and they look like they're in one container growing together. But I've been seeing some other houseplant people do this scenario, and since it's only going to be for a year, I thought it would be fun to try. So that's what I'm going to do. I love this combo. I'm going to tip it towards the camera so you could see better, because I won't be able to tip it once they're planted. I could, yeah. Anyway, this is a Christmas cactus. Is it Christmas? No. It's a Thanksgiving cactus. It has the pointy pieces. The Christmas ones have rounded pieces. Anyhow, it's got that cactus shape. It's a really unique leaf structure. And then I've got this Dracaena, which are on this 3-trunk stalk with these long skinny leaves with a red margin. And then I have this Peperomia, which is this dark purple foliage. I thought the marginata would play off nicely with those leaves. And so you'll notice that this has more of a rounded heart shape. This is a long skinny shape leaf. And then we've got the cactus leaf. So different leaf structures, different growing habits. This one will stay nice and bushy. This one will obviously splay out kind of like a spiller. And then this one will grow tall like a tree. So we've got all the elements. It's kind of fun. And the key principle of doing this whole project is you absolutely have to have plants that want the same soil, lighting, and moisture content. All of these plants like to be dried out in between watering, and they all like indirect bright sun, and they'll all do just fine in regular potting soil. So I have filled this pot already, and I also pre-moistened the soil because it is a fairly deep pot, and these containers are about half the depth, and so their roots aren't going to get down to the bottom for a little while. So I wanted to pre-moisten them because I just find it works a little better. And then I put a little bit of dry soil on top to work with, and then we'll fill it in as we need. It's right now, it's about this far from the top of the container. So this is going to go in a corner. So I'm going to put the tall plant in the back, and then this one kind of in the middle to the side, and the spiller in the front. So we're going to start with this one and go from there. I'm just making a hole big enough for her. I'm going to gently pull her out. The roots are still very shallow, which is nice for me because then it won't take up so much room yet. You do want to make sure you have some soil on the pot side so that there's new soil all the way around your planting. I'm actually tipping this cactus over just a tiny bit. The roots will be completely covered. The crown is completely covered. I'm just helping it create more of a spiller effect. So it's just tipped in instead of straight up and down like this. Can you see that? Straight up and down like this, it's going to be just like that. I want to make sure that all the soil is down in there, completely supporting this plant. I may have to stake it a tiny bit, we'll see. Oh, she's feeling pretty good. Okay. Right, then we have the Dracaena marginata. This one has been a little bit root bound, not bad. Just gonna gently loosen the circling leaves. I'm not gonna cut them off or pull them. Just gently loosen them up a little bit. Just let her know, like, hey, you have room to grow now. Okay. Get her in there. just want to make sure that the soil is even all the way around. There's no pockets. Okay. It's really fun. Now I will get this watered in. First, she's going to go into this pot. I already have a drip container in the bottom. Okay. Then I'm going to go ahead and stage her before I water her in, just because that's what I want to do. There's only about maybe 1.5 inches around this container. So I just have packing paper, like from an Amazon box, cutting them into, or tearing them into strips like this. Just gonna create sort of a rope-like effect that'll go around the pot inside of the decorative container. This just stabilizes it. See how I could kind of wobble her around? We want it to be nice and stable. Careful not to catch your leaves. Right. And the paper creates sort of a lip in there, so it's about, well, it's about this deep. And now I could put the decorative moss, and that'll just get caught on the paper so it doesn't slip down into the pot and stay up here on the edge. So this is just sheet moss. It comes in a big box. These are pieces that I've been using for years. These are pieces that I've been using for years. You could get them from the florist. You could get them from nursery centers. Just go to your local place and ask them if they can get you sheet moss if you don't know where you could source it yourself. Then I just kind of wrap it around, again in like a rope, and just tuck it down around here. Now you can completely cover the rim of your pot, so when you're looking down you don't see the rim at all. But what I have found is that if I want to preserve my moss as long as possible, I don't want it touching the soil where it's going to get wet, because it'll wick and then it'll get wet and then it'll like get kind of yucky. So that's just that's just my preference. What I do is, if I disassemble a pot like this and I have moss in it, it kind of comes out like this. It'll just be dried up, still bright green, but it doesn't have the spring and life to it that this does, right? So this will just get spritzed with some water and put in a plastic bag, and it'll rehydrate. And then it'll be ready for my next project. So just gently get it in there. I'm just gonna Your hanging plants will appreciate this technique because it gives your pots a little bit of a rolled edge, and hanging plants need that because if they're on a sharp edge, they could cut and break off. Okay, you just need a little tiny bit. Okay, I think that looks beautiful, you guys. I will show you a close-up in just a minute. I'm gonna water this in, and I'm gonna put just a splash. This is only half full, so normally I think this is a cap. No. It's half a cap per quart. This is a 4-quart container. So about 2 quarts are in there. So 1 cap, but I like to do half strength, so I'm just going to do half a cap. This is the Espoma organic indoor houseplant food. I like using it. I'm going to make sure it's mixed up in there, so I'm just going to shake it around a little bit. And then water these in. You want to water in your plants to make sure the roots get settled. Okay, that's it for today's video. If you have any more questions about transplanting plants, I recently did a whole video on that, and I will link it below and you can check it out. Until the next time, go and celebrate life today.